Could you lend me $30? In the midst of a heavy snowstorm, my niece, who we'll call Ellie, came to our house covered in snow. Upon asking, it turned out that she had been terribly mistreated by her parents. What? No way, I'm lending you money. Furious after hearing the story, my husband, whom we'll call Mike, decided to head somewhere, taking the snow-covered Ellie and me with him to the car. My name is Jennifer. I am 43 years old and have been married to Mike for 10 years. Mike works as a carpenter and he is 5 years younger. I used to be a secretary at the company where Mike worked, and ours was a workplace romance. Things moved quickly from there, and we ended up getting married. Mike, who is younger than me, is incredibly reliable and popular at work, respected by his juniors for his manly nature, making him my pride and joy. I was the one who confessed my feelings to him, marking the beginning of our relationship. Mike is sincere and serious-minded. When we started dating, he made it clear that he was considering marriage as a possibility, impressing me with his earnest attitude towards work and his personal life, which led me to propose to him a year into our relationship. We decided to get married. I was looking forward to a happier life together, but reality wasn't as sweet as I had hoped. Hey, Jennifer, is the dinner not ready yet? Everyone's already gathered, and you're being too slow. Right after we got married, the first disaster I encountered was at a family gathering at Mike's parents' house. Mike is the middle child of 3 brothers, each with their own wives. While I got along well with the wife of the youngest brother, Jason, I just couldn't click with the eldest brother's wife, Ashley. This incident was what set off those feelings. I'm sorry, I can't leave what I'm doing right now. Mike's family lives deep in the countryside, and every year, a large family gathering like this takes place. It was my first time participating in a family event, and I was overwhelmed by the busyness beyond my expectations. Amanda, the youngest brother's wife, was supportive and actively helped me, but Ashley was different. She seemed to be watching me like a hawk, ready to scold me at the slightest mistake. Even when we first went to greet them for our marriage, I didn't feel welcomed, so I knew she didn't like something about me. But I didn't expect to be so blatantly mistreated. Since then, I've dreaded these family gatherings. Just the thought of seeing Ashley made me sigh, and a week before the event, I would even start to feel stomach pains. You don't have to force yourself to come, you know? If you want, I can talk to my brothers for you. Mike was considerate and offered to help. But not attending could lead to all sorts of talk. It might tarnish Mike's reputation, and I would also miss seeing my in-laws. I adore my in-laws, they've taken to me as if I were their own daughter. I wanted to keep seeing them and not reduce our interactions. So I bravely told Mike I was fine and continued to attend the family gatherings. And so, today, like always, I attended the family gathering. As expected, I was being overworked and nagged by Ashley, who seemed to take pleasure in it. I'm not the most patient person. I can hold my own with the craftsman on the job site. Even though it's part of being married to my husband and dealing with his family, it's hard to keep quiet when you're constantly being criticized. But I couldn't disrupt the atmosphere there. I forced a smile and tried to keep a cheerful demeanor while responding to Ashley, who sighed at me as if she was fed up. This is why a childless woman. If you had kids, you'd probably be able to plan things out better. Ashley grumbled such snide remarks as she reluctantly brought food to everyone. In every other household, there were already at least 2 children. By the time we got married, I was already over 34, a challenging age for having children. Mike understood how I felt and never pressured me about having kids. I'd rather not have kids than risk losing you to childbirth. My dad and mom were happy enough that a rough guy like me got married. They know I didn't marry you just to have kids, and I want you to know that too. Mike's words and his smile comforted my heart. My parents also never pressured us to have children. Everyone considers my feelings, my well-being, and Mike's feelings, and they kindly give us space in a positive way. I feel fortunate to be in such a comfortable and caring environment. That is, until Ashley made her snide remarks. How old are your kids now? 8 years old, and one was just born last year. After all, a woman's worth is in childbirth. My husband and my in-laws are overjoyed and dote on them. I was serving drinks to another relative right behind Ashley and couldn't help but feel annoyed at her comments, clearly aimed at me. Don't worry about her, Jennifer. She's always like that. I get nagged by her a lot too, so it's best just to ignore her. Thank you. Really, what did my brother see in such a spiteful woman? It's hard to believe her kids, as cute as they are, come from her. After finishing serving drinks, I quickly moved away from Ashley's table, and Mike and Jason's couple welcomed me with open arms. Amanda was pregnant, and the children were playing with each other in the background. For a moment, it was just the adults, and both seemed relieved to have a break from their responsibilities. However, having witnessed how Ashley treated me, Jason and his wife looked appalled, and Mike seemed puzzled. I'm going to have a word with Ashley. This is too much. The uncles listening to her are just giving awkward laughs. Not even realizing what's happening. It's okay, Mike. I'm not bothered by it. And having people who understand me here is enough to make me feel better. You're too kind. It's ridiculous that you have to endure this. That's what being an adult is all about. But if it gets too much, please talk to us or my brother. I'm sure our parents would be on your side if you spoke to them. Knowing everyone was looking out for me made me feel like I could make it in this family. Without allies, I would have been out of here by now. No way I could take all this. While I was holding back tears from their kindness, a mocking laugh came from behind. What's with the gloomy faces? Who are you gossiping about? Brother. The person who appeared was Ashley's husband, the eldest brother, whom we'll call Daniel. Daniel approached near Amanda, but sat down between Mike and me with a cigarette in his mouth. Jason took his wife away to the kids as if to protect her from Daniel, glaring at him warily. Oops, your woman was pregnant, right? My bad, totally forgot. Ha ha ha. Without showing any remorse and offering only a hollow apology, Daniel made no move to put out his cigarette, even as he spoke. Moreover, he blatantly blew smoke in my direction, causing me to cough from the overwhelming fumes. I don't care what you think of my wife, but keep your complaints to yourselves. Well, I guess it's natural to grumble out of jealousy when you can't have kids. Laughing crudely, Daniel then walked away to join Ashley. His words pierced my heart, leaving me speechless. Childless. How many more times will I have to hear those words in my life? How many more times will I have to endure this humiliation? Biting my lip in frustration over not being able to have children, I felt a surge of bitterness. Mike, maybe it's better if Jennifer doesn't come next year. Maybe so. Are you saying I won't see Jennifer next year? Overhearing our conversation, Jason and Mike discussed it out of concern for me. Witnessing the entire conversation, Ellie, Ashley's child, looked at them with a sad expression. She, my niece, is a very good child, quite different from her parents. She adores me not just as an aunt but as if I were her real mother, and she loves Mike dearly too. At 8 years old, she should still be seeking her parents' affection, but during today's gathering, she was the quietest. Taking care of her newborn sister and playing with the other kids in a corner. It's hard to believe she's the child of those parents, and I cherish her as if she were my own. That's not true. I'll be here next year too, so don't worry, okay? Jennifer. Faced with such a sad plea from my dear niece, I couldn't just nod in agreement. While Ashley was causing a scene with Daniel over not breastfeeding, making a fuss at the drinking table. My sweet niece was sadly watching from the sidelines. What's the big deal about getting a little hurt? For the sake of these young kids who look forward to seeing me, this kind of pain is nothing. With that thought, I steeled myself and gave Mike a determined look, as if to show him my resolve. Meeting you all is something I really look forward to. There's no way I'd just give up such joy willingly. So don't worry. I'll keep coming to see you all next year, the year after, and for as long as everyone grows up and stops coming here. It's a promise. Hearing my words, Ellie's face lit up with a relieved and happy smile. Call me a soft touch if you will. But if I can be a beacon of hope for these little ones, then it's all worth it as an aunt. Seeing this, Mike and Jason's couple smiled as if they'd been defeated, and Mike tenderly stroked my hair. Remember, if it ever gets too tough, you can always tell me. You're the most important to me, after all. Thank you. Their love filled me with joy, and I couldn't help but smile. Little did I know that I would encounter a terrible tragedy in the future. As the evening reached its climax, a greeting was sent from the eldest-in-law, prompting everyone to start cleaning up. While other relatives' wives were actively cleaning up, Ashley, completely drunk, was still happily drinking with the tipsy uncles. Holding back the urge to criticize her for being a mother of young children, I joined in the cleanup. Amanda, with her growing belly, was resting with the children in the back. Really, how can such good kids come from that couple? It's unbelievable. As I carried the finished dishes on a tray to the kitchen, I overheard some relatives' wives gossiping about Ashley and her husband. I hadn't intended to eavesdrop, so I was about to leave the kitchen right after acknowledging them, when a remark made me do a double take in disbelief. They say she yells at them if they don't listen, and might even hit them. What? I wasn't the only one surprised by this revelation. The other wives gossiping were just as shocked. One of them, who had raised her voice in surprise, was quickly shushed by the others, urging her to speak more quietly. The person who had spoken hastily covered her mouth and began to share more details. That couple was reported to the police before. A neighbor worried they were being too harsh on the kids and called the authorities. It led to a report to Child Protective Services, but apparently, there were no visible bruises. Screaming at the kids is heard every day in their neighborhood, or so the rumor goes. I was taken aback by this unexpected information and covered my mouth in shock. The blood drained from my face at the unbelievable story. It's common to get frustrated with kids while raising them. But to lay hands on them or threaten them with words is absolutely unacceptable. It's something that should never happen. Yet, like the previous story, all of this is just speculation. I didn't witness any of it myself, so there's nothing I can do. Ellie, for her part, seems to love her parents and never complains about them. She obediently follows what she's told, showing no signs of rebellion. But what if that obedience is the result of being dominated through force? These thoughts only lead to negative speculation. What's wrong, Jennifer? You look pale. Are you feeling okay? Mike noticed my distress and came over, concerned about me, especially after the earlier incident. I considered telling him, but Ashley and her husband were nearby. It wouldn't be safe to speak carelessly, potentially causing harm to Ellie and her sister. So, I shook my head, pretending nothing was wrong, and said, "Maybe I just got a bit dizzy from the alcohol fumes. I'll go outside for some fresh air." With that, I put on my coat and left the cleanup to the others, stepping outside for a breath of fresh air. Outside, snow had accumulated, and the forecast predicted heavy snowfall starting tonight. The gloomy clouds threatened more snow, and I was lost in thought, recalling the conversation. I wasn't sure if I could make a difference by speaking up. But if Ellie and the others, who adore me so much, are truly suffering as the rumors suggest, I couldn't just stand by and do nothing. As I stood outside with a troubled expression, Ellie, holding her sister, approached me. "What's wrong? It's cold outside, why don't you go inside and play with the others? Jennifer, will you really come back next year? Can we meet like this again?" Perhaps due to the earlier incident, Ellie looked particularly anxious, and her baby sister seemed on the verge of crying. It's not good to keep a baby outside in such cold weather. I knew I had to take them back inside immediately. But seeing Ellie's anxious face, I couldn't just leave her be. I bent down to comfort her, pulling her and her sister into my arms to give them a warm embrace. "Of course. If you're that worried, take this. It's a note with my contact information and address. You can come over to play anytime, okay? With this, you don't have to be afraid anymore, right?" "Yes." Receiving something tangible seemed to reassure Ellie, and a smile returned to her worried face. However, her sister started crying, possibly from hunger, prompting me to hurry back inside with Ellie. After a while, the cleanup ended, and the gathering concluded. Everyone headed to their cars, and we decided to leave, leaving Daniel's family behind. Jason and her wife had already left, and our in-laws assured us they would take care of the rest. "Thank you so much for coming today. Please be careful on your way home." Touched by my kind mother-in-law's words, Mike and I expressed our gratitude and left. Leaving the eldest brother's family behind was worrisome, but with the in-laws there, their kids should be safe. Or so I thought, naively. Upon returning home and as the night grew late, our doorbell suddenly rang. Who could it be at this time? We were still awake, having a drink, but it was unusual to have visitors at this hour. It was past 11 p.m. Who could it be? Exchanging worried glances with Mike, we approached the door, where the dim light revealed the figure outside. Recognizing the silhouette, Mike and I were shocked and quickly unlocked the door. What happened to you two? There stood Ellie, drenched in snow, holding her sister. Ellie's hands were numb from the cold, and her sister was crying, her lips turning purple. Despite being bundled up, the temperature had dropped below 16 degrees Fahrenheit since the snowfall began. Considering the distance they must have walked, Ellie was staggering, prompting Mike and I to quickly bring them inside. Exhausted, possibly from carrying the baby essentials, Ellie slumped down as soon as she entered the room. After Mike prepared some milk for the baby, who hungrily drank it all. I offered Ellie a warm drink and wrapped her in blankets, placing her near a heater to warm up. Gradually regaining her composure, Ellie sat up and sipped her tea calmly. What happened? Where are your parents? As Ellie calmed down, I asked her about the situation, and she began to tearfully explain. It would take a child 2 hours to walk from her house to ours. She had made the journey on foot with her sister. Because their parents had left them alone at home and gone out drinking, not returning. With no dinner prepared and running low on baby supplies. Fear of their uncertain return prompted Ellie to remember the note I gave her earlier and seek refuge at our house. I need to buy some food and diapers for my sister. We don't have a place to stay, so just $30. Please lend me $30. I'll pay you back when I'm older. Hearing her plea, Mike suddenly raised his voice. What? No way we're lending you money. Ellie was startled when Mike, who had been silent until then, suddenly raised his voice in anger. Instinctively, she curled up to protect her head, her body trembling uncontrollably. I'm sorry for being selfish. I won't ask for anything else, I promise. Just don't be mad, please don't hit me. Seeing Ellie's tearful plea, I couldn't help but cry as I embraced her, trying to comfort her. It's okay. No one here will hurt you. Calm down, we won't harm you. I'm sorry, I wasn't angry at you. My bad. So relax, everything's fine. Seeing Ellie's frightened look, I was certain. The rumors about Daniel's family that the relatives talked about were true. It wasn't just a rumor. Ellie and her sister had been living a life oppressed by them. The moment I realized this truth, an indescribable rage surged within me. I can't forgive them anymore. Mike trembled with anger. His outburst was not out of anger towards Ellie. He showed his anger in this way because he couldn't forgive her parents for putting his dear Ellie through such an ordeal. Once Mike had made up his mind, nothing could stop him. He took out his phone, made a call, and then urged Ellie, her sister, and me to get into the car. Let's go, Jennifer. Go? Where to? We can't leave the kids with them any longer. With that, Mike drove us to a certain place. Understanding his intention, I quickly made arrangements in the car. Ellie looked anxious, unsure of what was going to happen. I turned to her with a reassuring smile. No matter what happens to your parents, can you trust me? Will you not hesitate to stay with us? Initially, Ellie seemed confused by my words. But as we arrived at our destination and I gently held her hand, she seemed to grasp the meaning, squeezed my hand back, and nodded firmly. As long as I'm with you and Mike, I'll be okay. Mike and I, having confirmed our resolve, exchanged a determined look and nodded to each other. This was a conversation we continued even after returning home. If the rumors were true, we'd protect Ellie. We hadn't expected to act on our resolve so soon, but our commitment hadn't changed. We brought someone with us and headed to the bar where Daniel and his wife were making a scene. Come on, drink up. Bring more booze. As we approached the bar, we could hear their loud voices from outside. It was unbelievable that adults could leave their children and party into the night like this. Hearing their voices only intensified my irritation, but Mike gently placed his hand on my head. Let's put an end to this. Yes. Agreeing with him, we entered the bar. The staff, unaware of the situation, led us to our seats. Daniel and Ashley were so engrossed in their conversation that they didn't notice us. I discreetly took out my phone and aimed the camera at them. Are you sure you're okay, leaving a newborn baby at home? No worries, no worries. The 8-year-old will watch over her, everything will be fine. We've disciplined her from a young age, so she doesn't dare defy us. At first, she was cheeky, blocking our way, saying she didn't want us to leave. But a little yelling, and she gets scared. She's sensitive to noises, so after we threw things near her a few times, she started obeying. Now she doesn't complain when we leave her with the baby, quite convenient. She's always on edge, watching our every move, isn't it funny? Some say you should discipline without laying a hand, but that's just soft talk by indulgent adults. Proper education means strict discipline. Laughing crudely, the couple unwittingly provided evidence supporting the rumors. Mike and I exchanged glances and nodded just as a man entered the bar. "Welcome, wait, the police." A police officer stood at the entrance, causing the staff to exclaim in shock. The other customers, wondering what was happening, felt a shift from the previously enjoyable atmosphere to one of unease. A restless and tense mood began to permeate the room. "I'm sorry to interrupt. We're actually looking for the parents of these children." With those words, Ellie and her sister appeared. The moment Daniel and Ashley saw them, their faces contorted with shock. "What are you doing here?" "We're so sorry, these are our daughters." "Did they cause any trouble?" In a panic, presumably realizing the gravity of the situation, they hurriedly claimed to be the parents. The police officer adjusted his hat, casting a stern glance at them through the gap. "Leaving your children alone to go drinking, especially on such a snowy night?" The sharp questioning from the officer visibly rattled the couple. Trying to deflect with an awkward smile, Daniel attempted to excuse their behavior. "No, we were just about to head back home. It's just the snow was so severe, we thought we'd wait it out here a bit, right?" "Yes, exactly. It's not like we left them alone on purpose. We locked the house and we've only been here for a few minutes." The officer turned to Sarah, the bar manager, ignoring the couple's pitiful excuses. "Is what she's saying true? If it's no trouble, could you tell us when they arrived and how much they've ordered? If they've only been here for 5 minutes, they couldn't have drunk much." "That's..." The couple began to suspect the officer's unusual interest in their case. Flustered, they struggled to grasp the situation unfolding before them. The officer continued to press them, delving deeper into their neglect. "What's the matter? Can't speak all of a sudden? Well, have you actually been here for hours, leaving your children alone? We've said it's not true. We just arrived, why won't you believe us? What's with this interrogation?" "That's what I was waiting for." As Ashley loudly denied the officer's claims, Mike and I stood up, positioning ourselves protectively in front of Ellie and her sister. They looked utterly bewildered, not understanding what was happening. Their confusion deepened and they appeared even more unsettled when Mike and I showed up. "Why are you here? We've heard everything from the children. About you leaving them to go drinking, about the neglect, and about the abuse. We have all the evidence we need. You've been lying, and we know it." At my words, the couple exchanged confused looks. "Thanks to your conversation with the other customers, boasting about how you treat these kids, we've got all the evidence we need. We can't leave them with you any longer. We'll be taking the children with us. You'll be answering to the police." "Wait a minute. You can't just decide that." "Yeah. Where's your proof we've been neglecting them? Just give it up." The one who spoke up, having been questioned by the officer earlier, was Sarah. Lighting a cigarette, Sarah looked towards them with a disdainful and cold gaze. "Take a good look at what she's holding." Sarah nodded towards the voice recorder I was clutching. She'd immediately realized what it was. "She's got audio, and she's been filming you with her phone." "That officer? They brought him here. I got a call earlier and was happy to help. It was clear you two were out of line. Go to the police and reflect on your actions." We appreciated her understanding and support. The couple still tried to protest, but no one in the bar seemed inclined to help them. Everyone, just like Sarah, must have felt deeply disappointed in the couple. They refrained from intervening due to it being another family's affair, but now that things had escalated, no one showed any sign of stopping what was unfolding. "It's disgusting what you've done. Recording us without permission, that's like wiretapping. That's a crime. Enough." Despite the desperate attempts of them to rectify the situation, Mike raised his voice in anger. Given that Mike, who had always been mild-mannered and never prone to yelling, raised his voice, the couple was taken aback and seemed to gasp in fear. Dragging your kids into your selfish mess, then calling it discipline when you hit them? You're the ones who need to be taught a lesson. Not these innocent children. They've been waiting for you, feeling lonely and scared. And you trample all over their feelings with your callous words. Shame on you. Faced with Mike's irrefutable arguments, they grimaced in frustration. Unable to respond, they faltered for words and awkwardly shifted their gazes, clearly embarrassed by the situation. What do you think she said when she came to our house? Facing the couple's poor grace and defeat, I deliberately met their gaze, peering into their faces. As they averted their eyes, as if to say they couldn't care less, I adopted a sorrowful expression and began to speak. She was blaming herself until the very end, wondering if her parents left because she was a bad child. At my words, Ashley turned to me in shock. She never blamed you too, not even once. She kept asking us if being good would bring you back. No matter how terrible the parents, to a child, they are their beloved and important family. The agony of forcing Ellie to choose to part ways with her beloved parents is something she'll likely never forget. That's why we are determined to make them happy. We, as a couple, will protect them no matter what. This conviction brought us here. I'm sorry. We won't do it again. We'll take proper care of them, please. It's too late. Finally realizing the gravity of the situation, Ashley pleaded in a frenzy, but I coldly dismissed her. We can never trust you with them again. She made her choice. If you truly regret and reflect on your actions, then never have children again. You two don't deserve to be parents. Ellie, holding her sister protectively, uttered only a few words to her parents. Wait, don't go. Please come back. I hate you, Mom and Dad. Don't ever come near us again. It must have been her first act of defiance. After saying that, Ellie, trying not to cry, turned her back on them and tugged at my sleeve, urging us to leave. Leaving the rest to the officer, Mike and I exited the bar. Ashley, unable to let go, caused a scene in the bar and was arrested for disturbance. Daniel followed suit, and both ended up in police custody. Thus, we successfully protected our precious niece from them. The officer was Mike's close friend who agreed to help after hearing the situation. I can't stand parents like them. I'm glad I could help protect your niece. Despite his busy schedule, he willingly assisted us, and we were grateful. Following this, Ellie officially became our foster child through a special adoption process. The testimony from the bar staff and the successful prosecution of Daniel and Ashley for abuse smoothed the adoption process. We explained everything to our in-laws, and Jason and his wife were informed about the outcome. The in-laws were furious, disowning them. They wanted to take responsibility and were supportive in raising Ellie and her sister, often visiting to check on them. Surrounded by everyone's love, Ellie quickly recovered, and her sister thrived healthily. I'm really happy to be your child. Ellie's first Mother's Day card, accompanied by a carnation and tear-smudged words, deeply moved me, and I cherished our happiness with tears.